Hello everyone, welcome back to Crockett Creek Brewery. Today we are continuing with our Viking series. Now, as a recap, these are 4 meads we are making that are inspired by the Vikings. The other day you saw me make Yule Mead, which was a spiced metheglin that should taste like mulled spices or wassail, some sort of holiday Christmas drink, warm and inviting. Today we are making Viking's Blood. Now, Viking's Blood is not necessarily a historical Viking mead. Viking's Blood has been nicknamed that, I believe, in about the 1700s, maybe a little earlier, well, because it represented blood. When you make it, it looks like blood. I've made this mead before, several years ago. It turned out very good, and we're going to be doing it again today. Now, this is a cherry mead, so let me quickly go over our ingredients. I have 1.5 pounds of dark sweet cherries. These are cobbler cherries, believe it or not. These are the same type of cherries you would make in a cherry cobbler. If anyone who's watching this video grew up in the South like I did, you've had cherry cobbler a lot. It's good stuff. That's what we're using today. I'm using it because it's easy to find, they're very cheap, and when you buy them frozen, like I did, the cell walls and the sugars and the juices are already broken down by the ice in the act of freezing. It makes it a whole lot easier when it comes to brewing and getting hydrometer readings and all of that. We're also going to use 1 gallon of water. But like we did the other day, we're probably not going to use the entire gallon. In fact, you can see I'm missing about half a gallon right now. My cherries and half a gallon of my water, my 1.5 pounds of cherries and half a gallon of water are here in my soup pot. We have this on low heat right now. And we're going to use this potato masher to stir and mash the fruit into a pulpy mixture. That way we continue to release more of the sugars. We break down the fruit a little bit. It makes it easier to put into a carboy and makes it easier to get a true hydrometer reading out of the fruit. That's where our cherries and our water are right now. Let me go on down the list. We're going to be using 1 cup of black tea. This is English breakfast tea. 30 raisins. We're going to be using about 3 pounds of Desert Creek wildflower honey. I've already measured out 3 pounds in a mason jar. It's down in the jar is sitting down inside my sanitizer liquid, which is warm and allowing the honey to soften so it's easier to pour. I'm not sure if we're going to use a full 3 pounds today. This is going to be a little tricky, a little bit time consuming. As our mixture warms up, our cherries and our water, and we mash it down, I'm going to let it cool off and take a hydrometer reading of that liquid. That measurement I will subtract from our goal. Now, our goal for our specific gravity is 1.115. That should give us an ABV, not ABV, ABV of 15%. I'll take that 15%, 1.115, and subtract whatever our specific gravity is of our cherry juice mixture, and that will tell me how much honey I need. I think it'll be somewhere around 3 pounds, but I'm not entirely certain, so you'll see us here in a little bit doing all of those calculations. Of course, we're also going to need our hydrometer and our turkey baster, and I have my stir stick here just in case we need to poke something down into our funnel. It's also been sanitized. The yeast we're going to use is lalvin K1V 1116 champagne yeast. This is the leftover packet from making our Yule mead, which has started up nicely. and it smells wonderful. So for the moment, I'm gonna fire my oven back up, my stovetop. We're gonna turn it to low heat and bring this up to a nice warm temperature while we continuously stir and mix this and mash our cherries. We don't want to bring this to a boil. Don't boil it. We just want to warm it up and mash the cherries and extract the juices. I'm not going to bore you through this whole process. So when my cherry mixture is done, I'll be back. Alright everyone, so our mixture has been cooking and I've been mashing it for about 15 minutes. As you can see, it looks like blood. That is why it has the name Vikings blood. So we are just about done with this. You can see it's mashed up into pretty good little chunks there. That will all fit inside the carboy nicely. I'm gonna go ahead and add this to my carboy over here. It's gonna be a little bit messy. I'm also gonna put a little bit inside my graduated cylinder so I can get a good gravity reading. I'll see you in just a sec. Okay everyone, so in that snippet you just saw, our cherry juice mixture is done. We have mashed it. We have gone ahead and poured it into our carboy. As you can see, there's quite a bit of cherry particles in there. That's going to be an enormous amount of yeast in this mead. We have also gone ahead and taken a hydrometer reading. The hydrometer reading of that cherry juice mixture is 1.010. So after some calculations, we are going to need 3 pounds exactly of honey. So my guess was pretty spot on. We have our honey here, which has been warming. Let's go ahead and add that. This is pretty full. Okay, so we have added all of our honey. We're going to go ahead and rinse out this jar because this jar is full of good honey and we are not going to waste any bit of it. Now the reason I measure out 1 gallon before I do any brew is so that I don't lose track of how much water I'm using. It's easy to lose track of how much water you're using, especially if you're using tea and honey and other additives like fruits or raisins or anything like that that takes up space. You lose track of how much you put in there. There we go. Add this to our must. Now let's also add our tea. Sorry about that. Someone was trying to call me. Let's add our tea to our must. That will help give good body and flavor to our mead, especially as it ages. Now what we're going to do now is I want to go ahead and get this shook up before I add any more water to it, because as you can see we're almost to the 1 gallon marker as it is. I want to get all that honey dissolved. We're going to let that sit and clarify for a little bit of time and see if there's any honey that settles and separates to the bottom. We'll see you here in a bit. Alright, so our mead has been sitting for a little bit of time, just a few minutes. I don't see any honey separating at the bottom. What we want to do now is go ahead and pitch our yeast. Again, we're using Lalvin K1V 1116 champagne yeast, which has an alcohol tolerance of 18%. That is the rest of that packet. Now we're going to add a little bit more water to it. Okay, I think that's pretty good. Let's go ahead and shake that. Excuse me. Let's go ahead and shake that up one more time. If you think you have shaken it enough, do it 2 more times. So our Viking's Blood mead has been stirred up. We've shook it quite a bit. All of our yeast is dissolved. It is time to take a hydrometer reading and see where we ended up. Now remember, our goal was a specific gravity of 1.115. Let's see how close we got. Let's try to dip down below the fruit, if that's possible. We'll probably pick up a little bit. Oh, not that much. I don't want that big clump in there. All right, I think that's floating. There's quite a bit of fruit solids in there. It's hard to pick up. Yes, we're definitely floating. We are exactly at 1.115. That right there tells you the benefit of doing the calculations and math beforehand and during your home brewing. Let's go ahead and add this back to our must. There we go. Those are going to be sanitized again. Right now, I need to put my label on it and make a note of the original gravity. 1.115. There we go. Viking's blood. As you can see, it has a distinct reddish brown color to it. It looks quite pretty, but there's going to be a lot of yeast in this with all of those fruit solids in there. We're going to rack this probably within 10 to 14 days. I'm going to let this one sit a little while longer, let the fruit extract some of its flavor. But I'm also going to stir this daily. I'm going to take the carboy and shake it up quite a bit. That way none of the fruit on the top molds. And I'm also going to keep a good eye on this and check if we need a blow-off tube. Because this is already at the handle of our carboy. It's very possible we're going to need a blow-off tube. So right now I'm going to put an airlock in this, and we're going to set it in a dark place. That's at about 72 degrees Fahrenheit. And we'll check it again in a few days. So thank you for joining me today for our Viking's blood video. I'm super excited about this mead. I'm so excited to see what's going to be in a year's time when it gets about Christmas. We'll see you on the next video when we cover rosemary black pepper mead, my green dragon. We'll see you then. Bye now.